Good morning, or depending when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name is Ross, and as always told, I had a voice radio. So today, I am showing you another very exciting new card from the upcoming Ultra Prism expansion. It's Mow Rotom. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. It is another one of the Sinnoh Pokemon, Diamond and Pearl Pokemon, Generation 4 Pokemon. It's Mow Rotom, and at this stage, like I've said in a couple of videos lately, I think it is incredibly fair to assume that we are getting a proper Generation 4 focus set. So what does it actually do? Well, it's a grass Pokemon, which means you are hitting for weakness against things like Lycanroc and Lapras, which is not the best weakness to be hitting if I'm completely honest with you. It is weak to fire, which could be an issue with Volcanion running around, especially the baby Volcanion, hey Nick, and retreat cost of 1 is pretty good, but as we're going to see in a minute, free retreat really would be better, because you might not be using any energy for this. Oh, what a tease. 90 HP is alright for a basic Pokemon. It's not particularly great, but you're only giving up 1 prize, so we can forgive it. Now here, what's really exciting about the Rotom is this. If you've got 9 or more tools in your discard pile, you do not pay any energy for this Pokemon. The attacks cost 0 energy. Ladies and gentlemen, that is ludicrously good. Free attackers are great, but if you look at the free attackers we've had in the Sun and Moon block so far, they've been a lowland Pokemon, and they've generally not been particularly great. Now, you do have some exceptions to this. You have, of course, got a Alolan Vulpix. Search for any 2 Pokemon for 0 energy. Put them into your hand. That's pretty nice. And we've got to give a shout out to Alolan Muck GX that actually has a 0 energy GX attack that allows you to drag a Pokemon from your opponent's bench into the active and leave it paralyzed and poisoned and burned, which quite frankly, ladies and gentlemen, is just a little bit nasty. One that I've really liked up till now is Alolan Raticate, the second Alolan Raticate, that had the 0 energy attack that did 60 damage if you've got a Pokemon tool card attached to you. But then you're not really hitting anything for weakness because it's a darkness type Pokemon and it's just a little bit underpowered. Maybe this Rotom could be good, and here's what's great. This is a grass type attack. It is a basic Pokemon, and if you've got 9 or more tools in the discard pile, you get to attack for 0 energy with a grass type attacker. This gives you a basic Pokemon that you can tech into any deck you like, and you don't need to be playing any of that grass energy malarkey because you can attack for free. So I suppose at this stage we really need to look at what the attack actually does. And it's not bad at all. 60 damage, and you get to discard a special energy from your opponent's active Pokemon. Now, given at the moment we've got decks like Golisopod that really rely on Rainbow Energy and Double Colorless, and Counter Energy looks like it's going to be really good going forward, and Double Colorless is being used in a whole bunch of other decks, anything from Alolan Ninetales to random decks that tech in Tapu Koko, getting rid of special energy is going to be really, really handy. 60 damage is too expensive though for a grass double colourless. If you want an attack like this, really you want something like Drampa. It does 20 damage and discards a special energy, but it does it for a single colourless energy. Ladies and gentlemen, 60 damage and discarding a special energy is good, but for a grass double colourless, it's too expensive. You can actually play double colourless energy yourself, but I don't care, it's a bit too expensive. But of course the ability means that maybe you can use it for free, and if you can use it for free, now we're talking, ladies and gentlemen. Now, with a choice badge, you go up to 90 damage, and if we look at stuff like weakness, you're not hitting too much. The thing is, something like a Lapras has 190 HP, so you won't actually be getting a one-hit KO on Lapras if anyone's playing it, which, to be honest, they're probably not. And although some people are playing Lycanroc, they've got 200 HP, so you would need something like a Professor Kukui in order to get a one-hit KO here, which is asking quite a bit, to be perfectly honest with you. but I cannot stress enough how great it is to have a basic Pokemon that attacks for 0 energy and allows you to hit a weakness you're not already hitting. Something like a Garbodor Espeon deck here would be able to then have a grass-type attacker if they really needed to hit for a grass weakness. Oh, and by the way, let's face it, in a deck that needs to play a whole bunch of tools, one of the best options is Garbodor. Because the great thing here is you've got Garbodor from Breakpoint. When he's out, you then are blocking abilities, you are slowing down, disrupting your opponent. Your opponent is then going to want to play something like a Field Blower to get rid of your tools, and then when there's enough tools in the discard, in comes Rotom. And yes, I know Rotom's got an ability, but if your opponent isn't getting rid of the tool on Garbodor, you're probably not going to have enough tools in the discard. If they are getting rid of the tools on Garbodor, then you may well end up with enough tools in the discard. One of my main concerns here, though, is that you need 9 tools in the discard. Decks like Garbodor generally want to play 4 Choice Band and 4 Floatstone. That won't actually be enough. Getting 9 items in the discard will be difficult. Though one Pokemon I have got to give a shout out to in this video is the Gourgeist from the recent Crimson Invasion set that for a double colourless energy does 10 damage, and you can discard any number of Pokemon tool cards from your Pokemon. This does 40 more damage for each tool you discard. So in the early game, you just bin all of your tools into the discard pile, doing big damage with Gourgeist for just a double colourless energy. Then when you've got 9 tools in the discard pile, in comes Rotom to hit for free. Gourgeist really relies on double colourless. Rotom is fine because you don't need any energy for Rotom. Gourgeist doesn't really have any good attacks after your tools are discarded, but that's okay, because Rotom comes in after your tools are discarded, and this sounds like an awful lot of fun to me. 9 tools in the discard is a lot. I think there is a little bit of potential here. Playing this with Garbodor, and then just in the late game when you've lost all your tools, bringing in Rotom. But playing 9 tools and having to get them all in the discard seems weird when you really just want Choice Band and Floatstone. Whereas Gourgeist seems like a much more natural partner for Rotom, because, let's face it, you want to discard the tools, and then Rotom comes in afterwards. And I do love that Gourgeist and Rotom are both ghost Pokemon. There seems to be some natural synergy here. But even if you're not playing it with Gourgeist, even if you're not playing it with Garbodor, any deck that gets 9 tools in the discard now has a 0 energy grass-type attacker that's a basic Pokemon that's 1 card in their deck. But ladies and gentlemen, there is a bigger story here than just this Rotom. Because in Generation 4, there wasn't just Mow Rotom. There was Heat Rotom, Wash Rotom, Frost Rotom, Fan Rotom, and Mow Rotom. They were all electric something type. Also, I know a minute ago I said Rotom was a ghost type, and I know that Mow Rotom is technically electric grass, but it's a ghost Pokemon that is kind of possessing a lawnmower. I'm totally counting it. And here's the thing. Heat Rotom is an electric fire type, so we assume that if that's printed, it will be a fire type. Wash Rotom is electric water, which would be a water type. Frost Rotom is electric ice, which would be a water type. And Fan Rotom is electric flying, which would be a colourless type. Okay, so we've got 2 water and a colourless, but maybe, ladies and gentlemen, we get a similar card like this with the same ability that is a water type, and a similar card to this with the same ability, which is a fire type, and maybe even a normal Rotom electric ghost, which is a psychic type. This would make a lot of sense, and I could see Pokemon doing it, and then not only would we have a 0 energy grass type attacker, but we'd have a 0 energy water type attacker, a 0 energy fire type attacker, and a 0 energy psychic type attacker. We could also have a second water and a colourless, but I'm going to be honest with you, ladies and gentlemen, they aren't terribly exciting. Or maybe something like a Frost Rotom or a Fan Rotom is printed as an electric type, and then we have a 0 energy electric type attacker, or lightning as it would be in the Pokemon trading card game. That, ladies and gentlemen, is exciting. I'm giving this Rotom 4 Wassies just because you've got a nice grass-type attacker that's a basic that could in some decks hit for 0 energy. That is really cool. But if we end up getting all these different types of Rotom, I think we're seeing a collective, potentially 5 Wassie set of Rotom here. Like I've said, having a grass-type Rotom that attacks for free with 9 tools and a discard in and of itself is exciting. But why would they just print Mow Rotom? Because I tell you what, the only time these Rotoms were printed in the past was in Rising Rivals, and we got all of them, and they all had the same poker power. I am calling it now. We're getting all of them, and they're all going to have the same ability. Thank me later, ladies and gentlemen. I'm calling it right now. But as always, I want to know what you think about this Rotom. Do you think we're getting the other Rotoms? How good do you think this could be? Is 9 tools in a discard a little bit too much? Let me know in the comment section. Go nuts! Be nice. Make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at the Wassie, and Twitch for some live action at twitch.tv/PTCGRadio. If you want to support the channel, get some bonus podcasts, etc., you can do so at patreon.com/PTCGRadio. But by far the most important thing, as always, is to look after yourselves until next time. Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.